Okay, so it's now recording. So I'm just going to take this addendum by roll call. Jackie Burns. Okay, I can see you're here. Stephanie Callahan. You're also here.
Yeah.
Andy Carmichael.
Yeah.
Here. Maureen Chalmers.
Here.
Peter Craig.
Yeah.
We have apologies from Maureen Devlin, and Mary Donnelly is here. Alan Falconer.
Yeah.
Graham Horn.
Here.
Here. I've got apologies from Martin Hose. Joe Lowe. No. Kenny McCreary.
Yes, I'm here.
Mark McGeever. No. Jim McGuigan.
Here.
David McLachlan.
Here.
Lynn Naylan.
Here.
Richard Nelson.
Here.
Mo Razak.
Here.
John Ross.
Here.
Bert Thompson.
Here.
Josh Wilson. No. Okay, we also have officers present. We have Stephen Clark from Planning and Carol Lyon from Administration Services. So I'll now pass you back to the chair to start today's business. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask if anyone's got any declarations of interest?
Chair.
Yes, Andy.
Can I ask, I have been involved with previous developers on this site with regard to the adoption of the roads. Now, part of this application involves that road. Do I need to declare that as a declaration of interest?
Elizabeth Ann, would you can he declare an interest but still stay at the meeting?
Let me just, Carol, can you clarify if that is the case?
Certainly, Chair. Sorry, so you've had previous involvement, Councillor Carmichael, with previous developers?
Correct.
Okay, have you had any involvement with the current developers?
They're not aware to me, no, not aware to me.
Obviously, it is up to yourself, and I think it's more how the public would view it. Yeah. If you think there's any chance that the public might think that your decision is influenced because you have had previous involvement, then it probably is best if you declare an interest and leave the meeting during that item of business.
Okay.
Thanks very much for clarification. In that case, I'll declare an interest. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah.
No one else? So I'll move to the minutes of the previous meeting and I'll move as an accurate record of that minute.
Second that, Chair. Thank
you. Now we're moving on to item 3, which is the application P18 0650 for the erection of 10 houses and the formulation of associated roads at land 35 metres southeast of Glencrest, Ear Road, Shawsburn, Larkpool. Can I pass that over to yourself, Stephen?
Sorry, Chair, before we do that, can we just check, has Councillor Carmichael now left the meeting?
All right, okay. Yes, I think he has.
Okay, that's lovely. We'll invite him back in once consideration is concluded.
Okay, thank you for that.
Good afternoon, Chair. Thank you for letting me present this report to this area committee. You'll see that this application, given its reference number 18, has been with the office a long time, and that's primarily been due to negotiations regarding its layout and also the requirement for a financial contribution in accordance with council policy. I'm pleased to say that the financial contribution has been agreed by the developer, and therefore it's now appropriate to bring this application to committee for determination. Shawsburn is a small settlement outside Larkhall. It's quite historic with quite a number of new houses, most of the new houses being built around Andrew Baxter Avenue. I would emphasise, however, that Andrew Baxter Avenue is actually out with the site of this application, although it will be one means of access to the new development. The new development itself is for 10 modern houses. It's on an area of ground which is between Andrew Baxter Avenue and Ayr Road, and this area of ground has been identified as being acceptable for residential development for a good number of years. The layout is very conventional in terms of modern layouts. The layout complies with the Council's residential design guide, and it will bring to Shawsburn a number 10 new housing units, 8 of which will be semi-detached. I would point out that in terms of the council policy, both the adopted local plan and the local development plan 2, which is due to be adopted, well, is due to become the local development plan in force soon. There are a raft of policies that are applicable, but the proposal does comply with the thrust and spirit of these policies. That said, you'll see that 17 representations have been received, one of which was just a general comment letter, 2 were in support of it, and 14 submitted various comments which are summarised in the report. In particular, I would highlight that concerns expressed that the proposed houses are predominantly semi-detached rather than detached, the generation of traffic and implications on drainage. All these aspects have been examined, and you'll note from the recommendation in the report that they are considered acceptable. Overall, this site has been vacant for more years. Some people do refer to it as a bit of an eyesore, and its redevelopment for a modern residential development will, I believe, improve the area substantially, and that the concerns raised by the 14 objectors do not merit support on planning terms. The recommendation is to grant consent subject to conditions and the conclusion of a Section 75 obligation, which requires a financial contribution of £1,500 per unit, total of 15,000, to be made to the Council for investment in local community facilities. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Stephen. Is anyone wanting to speak to this? Peter, do you want to make comment?
I can only say what Stephen's already said. It is a bit of an eyesore, and the road itself and the development itself would be better situated if it was completed, because the road could then be adopted. So I understand that people don't like the idea of more traffic on the road. Yeah, you can get that, but it's an asset to the development as a whole. So happy to accept it as this. Thank you.
Okay. I'll move acceptance.
Chair.
Oh, but am I seeing? Oh, sorry.
We have.
Jackie.
Yep, sorry.
Thanks, Chair. Just to follow on what Peter's saying, I support the application and I support the recommendation, but 2 issues that maybe Stephen can highlight regarding the provision of appropriate community facilities. An issue that's been raised before, Stephen, you may not want to, but you may not have the detail. In terms of the £15,000, 2 issues. One is, that doesn't seem to be a significant amount, £1,500 per house, given the value of these properties, and given, despite the fact that the detached houses didn't like the idea of semi-detached in the area, they're going to reach a significant amount of money, investment, significant amount of income from the council and council tax. £1,500 per house, £15,000 doesn't get you much in terms of community investment, and given the money should be spent in community facilities within Ashgill, that's the first point, is who decides it's only £1,500 per house and only £15,000 as a contribution? And secondly, as part of the process of where it should be spent and how it should be spent, councillors are often excluded from that process, and it's very much a process of officials of the council sitting down in a room and deciding. I get the big applications in Larkhall, and I get the persimmons and the other 3 building sites where money goes into the big pot and helps to expand Larkhall Academy and expand the nurseries like Robert Smile and Glengowan. However, given this nominal amount, which I think is quite small, A, can it be more than that? And B, how can the local members, myself, Peter, and other 2 members, be involved in deciding where it's spent? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Jackie. Stephen, do you want to answer, Jackie?
I'll answer Councillor Burns to the best of my ability. The amount Councillor Burns has established by the Council's Residential Design Guide, which was approved by the Council, I believe, back about 2010, 2011. It has never been adjusted since then, and therefore I can understand your viewpoint that it could be out of date. Unfortunately, however, that is the present Council policy position, and that is applied whether the house is in Shawsburn, Hamilton, Bothwell, Larkhall. It's a straight sum of £1,500 per unit. I will take on board what you say and will pass that message to my line manager about the value, and it would be up for them to come back to you on that. In terms of its expenditure, Councillor Burns, the money is received by the council and it's then given over to community resources to see how best they can use that money, whether to use it for match funding to try and get financial contributions from other sources, or indeed put it into a pot and try and use that money elsewhere. I, as a planning officer, the planning service, are not involved directly in that decision, but once again, it would come through Alistair McKinnon's remit. And should you have views or comments as to how such contributions are used, I'm sure Alistair will be willing to discuss these with you.
Are you happy with that, Jackie?
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Stephen.
Okay. Richard, it was remiss of me not to include you in. I've now got the hands up, so I know who wants to come in. It's yours. Take it away, Richard.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Stephen. Part of my what I was going to ask you was Jackie's already covered about the financial implication. So that's kind of answered that part. Just 2 other points, Stephen, on the planning application. One was about the adopted road, and why would we not adopt that now, given that we're still building? And the other part of it was about the coal authority. So my understanding reading the paper was they had an objection, but withdrew the objection. Now, I know that there'll be a lot of coal mines round about that area. As these concerns being addressed, I'm just looking for some clarity, really, to make sure these have been addressed.
Certainly, Councillor Nelson. If I can take your second point first, there's a condition on the consent about further works required. And this is because we know there are historical coal mines in this area and locality, some of which are very close to the surface. There may be land engineering operations required, grouting, for example, in order to remedy these things, and therefore the condition is designed to address that aspect. Unfortunately, a lot of Lanarkshire does have these ground conditions, but the planning service has got to take a proactive approach to try and make sure that these conditions are raised at the very beginning, so that the developer can factor that in terms of their layout, design and costings, etc. So I'm quite confident, similar to the houses that have been built in Andrew Baxter Avenue already, appropriate engineering operations can be undertaken to make this site safe from a historical mining legacy perspective. Your first question was about Andrew Baxter Avenue and why it hasn't been adopted. The simple reason for that is that Andrew Baxter Avenue, the development of, is not yet complete. And my colleagues in roads will not adopt the road until all construction is finished, because experience suggests that the road will get damaged by construction traffic, deliveries, etc. And therefore the council do not want to be left with the responsibility of having to repair such damage. The road will be adopted, I've been told by my colleagues in roads, but only once all development is finished. And even then, it sits for a year's defects liability period, in order that the road is used for a year. Any defects that appear are repaired by the developer, and then the council adopt the road without any immediate expense or repairs required.
Okay, does that answer your questions, Richard?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Stephen.
Okay, I'm going to move the report if there's no other person wanting to come in.
I'll second it, Chair.
Thank you. And we'll move on now to...
Chair, I'll just re-invite Councillor Carmichael.
Oh, of course, yes, of course, Elizabeth Ann.
Okay, I'm just waiting on him rejoining. Sorry, we still don't seem to have him.
Can you phone him?
Yep, I can phone him if you just bear with me one moment.
Oh, okay. Sorry about this.
Hi, apologies. I've not been able to get through to Councillor Carmichael. Just try.
Can you send him a text?
Yep, I'll try that. Sorry, Chair.
I think we're obviously going to have to just continue with the meeting.
We are core it, but I'll send him a text just now.
That's great. And we'll just, everybody agree, we just continue with the meeting? Or do you want a 5-minute break?
Oh, on you go.
Continue with the meeting.
Right, okay. Thank you. We'll move on to item 4, which is the community grants applications. And I intend moving that in block. If I could have a seconder, please.
I'll second it, Chair.
That's great. I'd like to draw the committee's attention to 5.2 in view of the fact that this is the last meeting of the committee in the current financial year, and to allow any further applications submitted prior to the end of the current financial year to be considered. It is proposed that the Executive Director, and in consultation with myself, the Chair, be authorised to approve any further community grant applications meeting the relevant criteria in the period up until 31st of March 2021. Can I have that agreed, please?
Agreed.
Thank you.
Chair, can I also just point out, apologies, the application C on the report should actually read Friends of Cadsall Glen, not Friends of Cadsall. So just wanted to clarify that for members.
Okay. So that's a typographical, and we'll rectify that for the minutes. I've now seen there's a few hands up, and Andy seems to be back in.
Yes, Mary, I'm back. Thank you.
That's fine. Right, the first hand I've got is Bert Thompson.
Thanks, Chair. Can you hear me, Mary?
Yes, I can hear you.
Right, thank you. Just briefly, I welcome these grants, and in particular the Logan Street one. This group has been set up because in this area, in my opinion, has been neglected for a long, long time. And at last, they've got the courage, the conviction to look after their own area, and they will bring things to their attention, and they'll observe things, and they'll keep us informed. So this grant will be welcomed to help them set up in the running costs. So thanks to the committee. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, Logan Street's well overdue. I would have to agree with you, Bert.
Right, thanks, Chair. Thank you.
Jackie, you want to come in?
Thanks, Chair. Just, it's a significant amount of money that's a remaining balance of 13,722. And given the fact we've only got 8 days left of March up to the 31st of March 2021, are we confident that we'll get applications in this financial year that will allow us to expend? Quite comfortable that the Chair can actually take applications up until then, but are we then be able to carry over future applications, or applications that come in maybe after the 1st of April, and this money has to be spent by the 31st of March? Are we comfortable with carrying over those monies to allow applications into the next financial year?
I would need to refer to the Financial Committee on that one, Jackie.
Okay.
But I can't get an answer for you. But we can't take that decision. That would need to go to the Finance Committee. I'd need to refer to Paul Manning. I mean, what we did do because of COVID, and a lot of it's to do with COVID, we did create a COVID fund where a lot of the community groups did apply to and got significant amount of money. So we could see what Paul comes back with. Okay. That's all I can say, because we can't take that decision. David, do you want to come in?
My question was just asked here by Jackie. I just wondered what's going to happen with the 13,000 that's left over. I think it's only right that it should carry forward, because people, given the circumstances of last year, you're right to mention there's a special pot of money for COVID, but generally the normal applications that we would receive, we wouldn't be getting because of COVID. So I think it's only right that that money should carry over for when restrictions ease and people are able to get back to doing things that they've missed out on. So I think Finance should make a decision to allow that to carry forward. It's only right.
We can certainly take forward the views of the committee, but we would need to pass it to the Finance Committee and speak to Paul. And myself and my deputy could do that. Maureen, you want to come in?
Hi, Mary. Sorry, I had my hand up at the beginning. I thought you weren't going to take questions. So
sorry.
No, you're okay. I just wanted to say, same as Bert, Logan Street tenants and residents, relatively new, just set up before we went into the pandemic, and they've been absolute stars. They're having regular meetings on Zoom. Their committee's grown in strength. They keep Bert and Mo and I on our toes, but they're also doing the fantastic work for their local community of the street in terms of fun things for children and families, and support for the more serious end of stuff as well. So really welcome this today. Thanks.
Yeah, it's to be commended. Thank you for your comments, Maureen. Alan, are you wanting to come in?
Hi, Mary. It's just on 5.2 where the Executive Finance Director, in consultation with the Chair, will decide them. If I remember, when the COVID fund was done, we were informed that yourself as the Chair and the Chief Executive would decide on the grants. And lo and behold, we found that you weren't involved in some of the grants.
No, I was. Sorry, Alan, I was involved in
them.
Well,
excuse me, in the first grant you didn't know nothing about it and they gave it. I think we'll check back in the minutes now.
Check back in the minutes, but I get phone calls with Rhonda.
Rhonda? It's no Rhonda that was doing it.
It was Rhonda.
Well, I thought excuse me, the paper said the Chief Executive with the Chair. No, the community worker.
Are you talking about the COVID money?
Yes.
Yes. Well, it was
Rhonda.
It was Rhonda's department, yeah, that was looking at them, because they had to be investigated what they were coming forward with, the request for the money. So I had a Teams meeting with Rhonda and Paul. Paul was involved from the chief executive, and it was the three of us that took the decision.
I don't know how to push the point, Mary, but the paper clearly stated the chief executive, who's the boy at the top of the tree, along with yourself. I'll check the paper out and I'll come back to you. Thanks.
Okay. No problem, Alan. Andy, did you want to come in?
Yeah, thanks, Mary. Just on that subject that Jackie Burns had brought up about the outstanding monies that may be possibly available at the end of the financial year. This was discussed at the Rural Task Force this morning, right? And I can tell you that it was agreed at the Rural Task Force that Alec Allison would be taking this forward with the leaders of the other groups to progress about having this money carried forward to the following year. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. I'm not sure how he could take it forward to progress it. He could raise it.
Well, with the greatest respect, Mary, I just said that he's going to be taking it forward to the group leaders, for the group leaders to discuss and possibly, and then from there to take it forward.
Right? Yeah. I understand you now. Who have I got? I've got Stephanie. Were you wanting to come in?
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to welcome this as well for Friends of Cadzogain. They're a brilliant local group at Cadzogain, just down under the bridge at the library there. Look after the area really, really incredibly well. Some of the team are in there working almost every day, doing a bit of weeding, doing planting, clearing areas of the glen, removing rubbish from the water, the water bay and all the rest of it as well there. And also really looking forward to the proposal for that to become a local nature reserve. It's a bit of a shame it's been delayed during COVID, but that'll be something to very, very much look forward to in that one as well. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks for your comments, Stephanie, and it's a lovely walkway. They have done it proud. Lynn, you've got your hand up?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just to echo basically what David McLachlan said, but one thing I will say is that these grants, on the scale of things, they're very low in value, but what these various groups manage to do with these small amounts of money is really quite amazing. So I would appreciate if you could make some sort of formal request that we carry these leftover money over to give any groups a chance to apply that maybe missed out last year because of COVID and maybe a slow off the running blocks this year because of the same issues again. So I think to lose it would be an absolute shame. If we could somehow keep it in the pot and do a review this time next year with the view to it going elsewhere if it's not all being used up. Thanks.
Thank you, Lynn. I know at the last meeting there was a big call to be made for everybody to take it out to their communities, to ask them to make application. I know I did in my community, so I did expect a bit more to be coming forward at this meeting. The only thing I can do is have a discussion with my deputy and Paul and see where we go with this. That's all I can put forward, if that's acceptable, and we'll take on board your comments.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. Just do your best.
Yeah. Okay, and I'd have to, that's it from me, and I've got no other competent business, and I'd like to thank you all for attending the meeting today.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Bye. Thanks,
Peter,
Chair.
Thanks, Chair.
Peter, do you want to stay on after the meeting and we can have a quick one?
Thank you, Chair.